Oh, hello. Today I'm going to talk about assembling and I guess some sort of review of the terrain that comes in the Octarius box. Now I know I'm a little bit late to the party with this one. I wasn't that enthusiastic about the Octarius terrain, not for any kind of legitimate reason. I just don't really like orcs. I've never been a massive fan of the orc aesthetic, so I was like, well, I've got terrain, I've got the Sector Mechanicus terrain that you've seen in the battle reports. I'll use that. And as we played more and more games, I began to realise that the Mechanicus terrain is really cool, but I feel like the Octarius terrain, because it's used by a lot of people, it's used at a lot of events, it provides a kind of a consistency of experience, and it would be good to play some games on it, like more regularly, just to get used to the kind of the nuance that the terrain brings, because I've always believed that terrain is like a third player in your game, it shouldn't be an afterthought. Another thing that spurred me on to finally build the Octarius terrain is that for Christmas I'll be travelling, hopefully, to the other end of the country, and some friends of mine have expressed an interest in playing Kill Team, and the guy whose house we're going to is like, well, I've probably only got enough terrain to fill one Kill Team table, and I'm sitting there thinking I really don't want to bring my Mechanicus terrain, because, I don't know if you've seen from the battle reports, but like one of the big central pieces is really, really like all glued together in a very static way. So a nice thing about the Octarius terrain is it'll be really easy to transport. It should pack more or less back into the Octarius box, so that'll be really good. So the first part that I tackled is the Ramshackle Ball, the first Ramshackle Ball. So there's two of these to build in the kit. It looks really straightforward. It's basically four parts, but there's a couple of things I want to talk about. The first thing is these are really heavy chunks of plastic, right? The terrain, I don't know for absolute certainty that this is still true. It was certainly true for a while. The terrain that Games Workshop produces is not produced in a factory in Nottingham in the UK. It's produced in China, and it certainly looks and feels like quite a different project. It's thicker, it's flatter, and the sprues are different. I didn't take any pictures of the sprues, but if you ever built a GW terrain sprue, you'll know that the sprue isn't joined all the way around the edges. It's like a curvy, gappy sprue. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the product. It's a bit less dynamic than the miniatures, but it's a lot flatter. I think that the molds that they use to make it are a lot cheaper, but then the price point is also pretty cheap for the amount of plastic you're getting. But it's very, very thick. And so I've been talking recently about the Tamiya extra thin poly cement. I did not use that on this kit. I went back to the Revel contactor in the normal blue container that I used to use before, because it's just a bit thicker and you don't need quite so much precision. The one thing I would like to say about this kit that is a little bit difficult, and I'm going to go for my famous pen here and do some annotations, is when you're gluing on this pillar, it's not quite clear from the instructions where exactly on the bottom of the base it goes. I mean, they sort of give you this picture here, but it's not, or at least to me, maybe I'm just being silly, it's not obvious where it goes. Now, I looked and looked and looked on the underside of the floor tile, and at one point I did wonder if it fitted in here, because of this kind of line here, that maybe looks like keying, okay? But in fact, what it has to do is it has to go on one of the actual girders that runs onto the bottom of the floor. Otherwise, it's not long enough to touch the floor when the thing's standing up. Now, that looks a bit weird, doesn't it? Because you've got the kind of surface area of the thing, but the contact point is only actually along the sort of pretty thin girder. So if I just draw on this one, you're only actually gluing kind of along the middle of it like that. But that is how they go. That is, I've talked to other people since. That is apparently how they have to go. So that's how they go. One thing I did do, I've just taken this picture here, is I just, not to really lose any height, but I just did very slightly rough up the top edge of this with an emery board, just to get a bit of texture onto it, so that it would stick a bit more easily down onto that quite narrow surface area, because some of these pieces, they're very smooth and very shiny, and very, very, very slightly concave as well, no, convex, domey, trying to be posh and I can't remember which way around they go. But there's a very slight dome to it, so it needed to be absolutely flat and slightly textured. It's stuck on well enough and they're together now. I actually don't think, you can see the finished pieces up here, I'm not convinced that they need this pillar to actually be freestanding. I don't think at Warhammer World they had that pillar on their piece of terrain. In fact, on a lot of them they didn't have this whole roof section at all, and they just had the L of the walls. Unfortunately, I decided to put my roofs on because I couldn't see an easy way to make it modular so that they'd slot in and out. I guess if you're going to use it and you're going to stand a model here, especially like a metal model, then you're going to want that support, right? But it doesn't need it to stand up. It doesn't need it to support its own weight. Your mileage may vary. Then we got the second set of walls. Exactly the same thing here. Exactly the same things to say about the pillar and the glue. Just included this picture down here so you can see where I glued the pillars. It's pretty close in to the... you can see the pillar here, it's pretty close in to the wall, but that really does appear to be where it's going on the plans. So there's this little knobble here, and that's that knobble there. Yep, that seems to be how they go. And then you've got these, now I flat out forgot these were in the kit. There are these two little platforms that I guess are for spanning bridges and things. You never see these, right, in battle reports, and... yeah, they didn't use them in the Warhammer World either, but they're for making little narrative-looking bridges and things. They're pretty cool. They're also integral if you want to do the really funny thing of making all your pieces together into like a fort. They actually go into the middle here and fill up the hole in the middle, and you can make like a really massive orc fort, which is thoroughly useless for kill team, but I guess it might be really cool for 40k, or for narrative play in kill team, in fact. Then you've got a bunch of freestanding barricades and scrap piles. Ignore these bits. We're not looking at those today because they're not really part of the Octarius terrain. They're part of the kind of accessories and gubbins pack. But all the other bits, plus, not pictured there, we've got the two, they're just up here, two freestanding little bridgey pieces that you balance on the pillars that were on the previous slide to make little gantries and walkways. Again, it's you don't see people use them, but they look really cool and they can add some real flavour and narrative to your games. And lastly, that brings us on to the oil pump. There's not much to say here, despite being one of the most visually impressive kits in the sort of terrain set. It all just went together as you'd expect with no difficulties, so I've not really got much to add. This is the famous oil pump that if you position a Tau stealth suit correctly on the little platform, sort of just here, so there's a little stealth suit, there he is. There we go. There we go. There's his legs, there's his plastic rotary cannon thing, and there's his smiling face and his big beard. Okay, and essentially, if he's on there with his base like that, he can't be shot. If he's on if you correctly manipulate his conceal orders, right? And you can't get up to do close combat with him because he takes up too much of the platform, which is pretty cool. Well, it's not pretty cool, it's kind of ridiculous. And so people variously house rule this piece of terrain if someone's using stealth suits. It's a bit strange. But that's really the only thing to say about oil pump. Yeah, it goes together exactly as you'd think. And so final thoughts. I like the terrain in terms of its function. I don't really like it in terms of its form. I'm not a big orc fan. I'm going to do a paint job on it. It's going to be a pretty quick paint job. It should be pretty quick and pretty effective, which, to be honest, is how terrain should kind of be. It's a backdrop. I will do another video when I get around to painting it. Obviously, it's got to get spray undercoated, and in the winter with the weather, that can be a bit difficult to sort out. I'm going to try and get it sorted out because, of course, as I said, I wanted to take it up north for my friends to play on. What have we got planned for the future? Well, we're going to have lots of games over the Christmas period. I can't say that I'll document all of them, but games here with Zimbad, and then games when I go up north as well. So there'll be lots more games over the Christmas period. I've got a Christmas-themed hobby video that I'm going to do at some point in the next couple of days, and I'm hoping to get, before I go away, going away on Christmas Eve, hoping to get a few more videos put out for my various regular series that I've kind of not touched that yet. Sort of the team overviews, the showcases, the Kill Team Basics videos, those kinds of things. If you've got any comments, suggestions, and feedback, please leave them down below. And then, to be really stereotypical, if you like the video, subscribe, comment, buy things from Element Games, all the sort of stuff. That would be great as well. Really help me out. I've got about £9.89 in Element Games thing. So if someone else buys something, I'll get some money. That would be quite nice. Yeah, hope you have a great day and I hope you enjoyed the video. Cheery bye.